Then I think finally here also. And suck my tongue.
So this week's topic, interestingly, has been the Dalai Lama. I'm sure all of you have seen on social media what's going on. It's been such a, what do you call it? It's churned a lot of things, so to speak. And I think it's an opportunity for us, again, to communicate or to work on our throat chakra and also protect and work or help the children work on their throat chakras. I think that's a very good opportunity for that. And for me, I'm not passing judgment on the Dalai Lama and saying, is he a pedophile? Is he not a pedophile? No, for me, that's not the issue here. I don't know what went on. I don't know, if it's cultural thing. And there are a lot of Tibetans who came and mentioned that this is our cultural practice where grandparents give the candy from mouth to mouth and we kiss on the mouth. Indians don't do that, but apparently Tibetans do. And so they came up in arms when the video of the Dalai Lama doing that with that young boy came to the surface. And apparently grandchildren are teased by their grandparents in that very same fashion with that very same phrase saying, oh, I've given you the candy from my mouth. Now there's nothing else. It's just my tongue that's left. Eat my tongue, or something to that effect. So I can understand that culturally as well. But like I said, the point is not about the Dalai Lama. The point is about the agency we give our children and the agency we give ourselves as well, with physical touch and proximity and intimacy. So it's a good, I would say, window. The Dalai Lama's stuff is a window for us to ponder. Are we being more vocal about our needs? Are we being vocal about our boundaries? What is okay? What's not okay? Did we think it's okay because we were conditioned to believe it's okay? Or is it actually okay? So these are all really, I would say, questions to sit with. So, and in terms of our own agency, what do you feel is lacking, or do you feel growing up you had agency? Because I wrote a little post on Facebook talking about my own childhood. In India, as kids, we didn't have agency, which means every adult who came into the house will pinch your cheeks or say how cute you are, or ruffle your hair, or give you a hug. Agency is the capacity to choose. And so having agency, when I say have agency, I mean, as a child, did you have capacity to choose? So sometimes there may be very overt demands of you. Sometimes they're covert. They're not spoken, but it's understood because all the other kids are also mute, and all the other kids were also hugged, and all the other kids' hairs were also ruffled. So that's an unspoken kind of a thing that happens in India. I'm maybe in Mexico, maybe in other places too, but I'm just pertaining to that. And so what happened to me as a child was I didn't like that. And therefore I had to unanimously say, I don't like hugs. And my grandfather supported it. And so nobody touched me. It was, I didn't know how to articulate it and say, oh, I don't want to be engulfed. Now, when I think about it, I didn't like the energetic engulfment. And because I was very psychically aware, I was aware of their emotional leaks and emotional cobwebs and everything that was there. And I was like, oh, it's too much. I can't take that from an adult. And therefore, for many years in my life, everybody in my family said, oh, she doesn't like to be hugged. She doesn't like to be touched. And for me, I was like, okay, that was my safety net, having a very strong boundary. I mean, I'm not like that anymore, as many of hug people. But it's, as a kid, that was my way of self-protection. So this is just exploring that and saying, do you give your kids or other kids in your environment agency if you don't have kids? And you as a kid, what was your experience? We do need to be held accountable and also hold others accountable when we are stepping on somebody else's agency. We need to respect that. And that's why we're on the yoga path. When we contemplate ahimsa as the first yama, or the first conscious restraint, we're not looking at how are we just stepping on other people's feet, but how is somebody else stepping on our toes, either in unawareness or out of greed or actual malice. Some people can actually be evil and malicious, with no empathy. So to be cognizant of that and say, how do we stop that is also important, either holding the person accountable or finding support to stop that person. These are all very important things. Of how culturally, if we're not given agency, then even as we grow older, we're looking at that pleasing or being nice, how even as adults, it becomes difficult. Like all of us go through that. All of us go through that because of how we're culturally conditioned. So it's good to just see that it's all our journeys. And I brought up this thing about how there was this little issue, not as big as the Dalai Lama, but when David Beckham was kissing his daughter on her lips, it was a very innocuous fatherly thing. And I said, oh, is it common? And in my culture, it's not, parents don't do that. So, but for me, I was still open to exploring and saying, hey, in other cultures, is that common to have, for the dad to just kiss a little kid on the lips? I mean, the kid happened to be a girl. And that's why there was, again, this whole furor, or, the media picked it up. And so everything goes under the magnifying glass, and, everything is open to interpretation. So yeah, there's one side where we have people like, because as Meena brought up that thing of John of God, who are absolute jerks, who raped women and molested. And I'm not talking to that. I'm talking to the side where it's a cultural thing, and, it's an affection thing, and it's an open thing. And also to clarify, when I was younger, it's not like I was disrespectful to anybody. I used the Indian namaste. I just said, oh, my boundary stops there. So of course, kids need to be taught respect. Kids need to be taught to acknowledge another human being. Kids need to be taught, not to be in their own mood swings where they can just ignore elders. That's not what I'm advocating. I'm just saying in terms of personal space and physical space, they should be given some agency. Like, how do you know? How does that kid know? If it's already in that cocoon of love, and if it comes from a place of love, unless that kid, know or is aware enough to voice it at that young age. Otherwise, they discover it as they get older.